Hi guys, so I decided I would make a series of videos about my past Christian life and the things that were taught to me and told to me that were potentially harmful and are harmful to people, especially people in vulnerable situations. So I just thought I would cover some of that today. And in this video, I don't know yet how long this video will run, so I don't know if this is going to be one part or two parts, but basically the theme of this video or series of videos is going to be called A Biblical Portrait of Marriage. Now, I just need to explain really quick what this Biblical Portrait of Marriage lesson plan was from, where it originated, at least from my understanding because of what church I went to. So I went to two different churches after I met my husband. We met in late 2007, and sometime after that, I don't remember exactly when, we started going to each other's churches back and forth every other weekend. So we did this at some point as we were dating, at some point in the dating timeline, all the way through the very beginning of our marriage in the first, I would say, I don't know how many years, but the first few years of marriage, we also did that. It was just our way of compromising and our way of respecting each other's religious beliefs, since we were both, Christian at that time, and we just so happened to believe in different Christian denominations. And honestly, now that I am an atheist, I look back and I see how similar these two denominations are in reality, and it makes it that much funnier that these two denominations absolutely hate each other. And I will get into that in a different video. In this video, we're going to cover lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5, lesson 9, and 12 in this video or in this series. Because I find that these lessons are the most, I would say, harmful, questionable, sexist, and we'll go over that. So anyway, this is called A Biblical Portrait of Marriage, and this lesson plan actually came from our marriage counseling. Our marriage counseling before we got married was through my husband's church. My husband's church was a Baptist church, and it is in a small town in Tennessee. So that is where we're going to start with this, just so you know where this lesson plan is coming from. Now, I will say, even though we both grew up in these different denominations of Christianity, reading through this lesson plan is very, very similar to the way that I was raised in my church growing up. And they're not, I actually don't think there are very significant differences in the way that marriage is taught in the church that I grew up, which was the Church of Christ. Don't confuse that with the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is different. This was the non-denominational Church of Christ, okay? They only went by Christians. They did not go by any denominational name, just Christians. And I actually have a book about that church right here, and we will go into that in a different video. But anyway, this is from a Baptist church. This is a Baptist church marriage counseling kind of thing, where you go to it could be a pastor, an assistant pastor, a youth pastor. Someone in the church gives you these worksheets, you fill them out, and you talk it over with the pastor. He's seen as a leader of the church, okay? Now, this was not the head pastor that gave us these lessons. This was, I forget what you would exactly call him, but think of him as like an assistant type pastor. Maybe he fills in for the pastor when the pastor is out sick or something. But also think of him as, we were in his classes during college. I think he taught the college classes at the church. So, I don't know how his role has changed over time, so take that with what you will, but this is who was teaching us these lessons. Some of these lessons made you feel very awkward. The topics were awkward at times. Growing up in the church, some topics feel very taboo and embarrassing to talk about, because that's just kind of how you are taught to be. You're taught to be you're taught to see certain things as taboo. And so when they're talked about in these lessons, it does kind of make you uncomfortable at times. And so I want you to look at this through that lens as well, because that will give you a better idea of what is going on here. But we're going to just skip through certain lessons, and I'll explain why a little bit, just really quick. So I have the list right here of the different lessons, and they call them sessions. So basically how it would work is each session that you would have here, that would be one session or one lesson that you would attend, talking to this pastor, assistant pastor, leader of the church, whatever. Okay? So how we did this was we went to his house. We went to this assistant pastor's house. I'm just going to call him an assistant pastor. Don't know what else to call him. And he would talk to us in his office privately, just the three of us, about these lessons. So that will give you an overview of how this was set up. We would drive to his house, go in his office. This would be a private lesson. And it was all about marriage counseling from a viewpoint of this Baptist church, this denomination, and what they believed and how it was connected to the Bible. So let's just get right into it. So I'm going to actually list all of the sessions for you guys, but I'm only going to cover a few of these because I want to cover the ones that I find the most disturbing. So session 1 was leaving, the role of the couple. So session 1, just really quickly, is just about leaving your parents. You know, you're getting married, you're supposed to leave your parents, you're not supposed to have your parents be a part of your relationship, okay? Lesson 2, or session 2, is cleaving. You're supposed to cleave together as a couple, come together as one unit. Yeah, you get the idea. Session 3, helper, okay? Session 3 is all about how the wife is the helper to the husband, and that is her role. Session 4 is called submitting. Session 4 is about the responsibility of the wife. So you see how session 3 is about how the wife is the helper, but session 4 is about how the wife is also the submitter. Submitter? Is that the word? The wife submits to the husband. And so I kind of feel like session 3 and session 4 could have been combined into one session, to be honest with you, because they are very similar ideas. The wife is supposed to obey the husband. The wife is supposed to help the husband. Those are the basic ideas. Session 5 is leader. Session 5 is all about the role of the husband and how he's supposed to lead the wife. He's over the wife. He's above the wife. He is supposed to tell the wife how things are, basically. He's supposed to run the household. Session 6 is loving, the responsibility of the husband. Session 7 is in-laws, and it says, ensure in-laws don't become outlaws. That's what session 7 is. Session 8 is about money. And it just talks about covetousness and contentment. Session 9 is sex. Session 9 being about sex, it says satisfy your spouse's sexual needs. Session 10 is romance, keep the heart fires burning. Session 11 is communication, speak the truth in love. And session 12 is loyalty, love with all your heart. Now, session 12 sounds sweet, but we'll get into why I have it on my list of the ones I want to cover. I'm going to cover session 3, helper, session 4, submitting, session 5, leader, session 9, sex, and session 12, loyalty. Again, this may be split up into multiple videos because I have no idea how long this is going to run. So I would say this is probably at least 2 parts, but we'll see. So session 3 is helper. Now let's talk about session 3. So now this is called pre-marital counseling. I probably should have reiterated that. This is not technically marital counseling, it's pre-marital counseling. We had to take this counseling to get married in his church. So I decided, I wasn't sure where I wanted to get married, how I wanted to do it, how I wanted the ceremony to be at first. And I eventually landed on just getting married in my husband's church. And so in order to do that, they would not let us do that unless we did these lessons. So these lessons were required to have our ceremony in their church. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. That's very important. So lesson 3. Okay, sometimes they call them sessions, sometimes they call them lessons. It does get confusing and wordy. I don't know why they do it that way. But anyway, we're just going to say lesson. Lesson 3 is called helper. Lesson 3 is about the role of the wife. And I'm just going to read this to you guys. and we'll go from there. Okay? Introduction. From what possible sources might a wife get ideas about her role in marriage? Number 1, society and culture. Number 2, saints and church. Number 3, scripture and commandments. How does the Bible define the role of the wife? And so now we have a Bible quote. It says, "And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him." Genesis 2:18. And the next section says, "What must a couple do to experience oneness in marriage?" And then there are actual blanks. There are actual spaces that you can fill in on this worksheet. And it says, the wife is to help accomplish the dream of the husband. Okay, let's talk about this. The wife is to help accomplish the dream of the husband. You know, I actually don't see any problem with this if there was also a statement of the husband should help the wife accomplish her dream as well. I think this should go both ways in a marriage. And again, it doesn't have to. I am a believer in that every marriage is different and everyone has a different set of values and things that they're okay with and that they're not okay with. And so in my opinion, I wouldn't even create a template that every single person in the world had to use for their marriage, because I am a firm believer that all marriages are different and it's going to depend on what kind of people are in that marriage. So to me, right off the bat, my problem is that it doesn't say anything about the wife's dreams. It doesn't say that she even has dreams. It doesn't acknowledge her dreams. It doesn't even say that he should help with her dreams, which I find to be messed up. Like, can the wife not have dreams? Does she not have her own thoughts, feelings, and hopes for the future, goals? You know, it doesn't sound like it. Number 2, the wife is to be a counterpart to her husband, and this is Genesis 1:26 to 1:20. Genesis 1:26 to 27, Genesis 2, verse 21, and 1 Corinthians 11:3, 8 to 9, and 11 to 12. And it says the husband is to define the help that he needs. So over here on the right, it says the wife's helping score, and it goes from the best statement she could make to the worst statement she could make. So it gives a lot of points if the wife says, "How may I help you?" It gives pretty good points if she says, "I'll be right there, honey." It gives decent points if she says, "Maybe I should get you some help." And then it gives less points if you say, "Didn't I just help you with that?" And then it gives very low points if she says, "Yeah, what do you want?" So they're even critiquing how helpful the wife is on a scale, on a spectrum. And there is an evaluation that you take at the bottom of the page. You fill in your answers. You fill in false, sometimes, or true. And these questions go as follows. Evaluation. Evaluate the wife's role as helper in your marriage. A. The wife consistently seeks to be a helper to her husband. B. The husband is secure in his role as leader, because his wife is not trying to fulfill that role herself. So as you can see already, the goal is for the husband to be the leader, the wife to be the follower, the wife to be the helper, the wife to be the submitter. Now, this isn't even the lesson about submitting, but you can see they're already talking about basically the same idea of submission. C, the wife believes in her husband and enables him by her joyful and willing spirit. You have to be willing. D, an awareness of and familiarity with the husband's dreams and goals is one of the wife's highest priorities. E, the wife frequently asks her husband what kind of help he needs or wants. F, the wife finds delight in discovering how she can blend her strengths with her husband's in order to aid him in significant ways. G, the husband experiences greater fulfillment of his dreams because of his wife's enablement and help. H, the wife is happy and fulfilled in her role as helper to her husband. So you can see what they're trying to teach. They're trying to teach that the man's dreams are the center, and everyone should be focusing on the man's dreams in the marriage. There's no talk about the woman's dreams, And this is a lesson geared toward the wife because it says the role of the wife. It says helper. So I want you to keep that in mind. It's all about the husband's dreams. It's about his goals, his dreams, his career path. And she is just kind of the sidekick. She's kind of like, oh, I'm here to help you with your dreams. Which I think is really damaging, and I think it really minimizes the fact that women also have thoughts. What a shock. Women also have dreams. Women also have goals in life. And maybe not all of them do. That's fine. But a lot of them do. And so it completely pushes that under the rug and doesn't really address that. Actually, it does address it. It basically condemns that. Because it says she should not be fulfilling the leadership role. So it makes it sound like if she has a dream, then if she is very motivated as a person and she has this type of personality where she really wants to meet her goals, it doesn't sound like that is approved in this case. So if we go to the Bible study portion, which is on the back, I'm not going to go through this whole thing because it's really long. But it basically says that the woman is a helper by design. And it says that this is in Genesis 2:18 through 22. And it basically says that she is to complement her husband and complete her husband. So this also has this added negativity, even toward the husband. Kind of saying that the husband isn't fully whole until his wife is with him, and then he's fully whole at that point, which I don't agree with. I'd say back then, when I took these lessons, I agreed with it, because back then I was Christian, I was in this religion, and being taught these things all the time. It was being pounded into my brain, so I just kind of went along with it. There are definitely some moments where I was like, not really okay with it, but I was still going along with it because I had to. I had to take these lessons to even get married in this church. But anyway, the helper defined, worthy helper, helper's attitude. So also they critique the woman's attitude. She cannot have a bad attitude. She has to do everything with grace, with quietness, with calmness, gentleness, and she can't raise her voice. She can't be upset about having to be the helper and not having the dreams in this relationship. Alright guys, that was part 1 of this series. I hope you enjoyed it. Please join me for part 2, where I will discuss the next lesson, and we will go over each of these lessons in this series, because I find these lessons to be very damaging and or dangerous. And I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please let me know what you think. Let's discuss these harmful teachings, whether they're not harmful or not. I mean, if you're a Christian and you disagree with me, feel free to leave your opinion as well. I would love to hear you express what you think about that. But there are other lessons to come in other parts of this series. So I would like for you to take that into consideration, that there are other topics coming up in the series that you may or may not agree with, even if you agree with this particular lesson that I've covered this time. Also, please feel free to come and chat with me over on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at ArtlessUppercut, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and thank you to everyone who's liked any of my videos and commented on any of my videos. I really appreciate your support. You guys are awesome. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.